sustainable teams in this new time that we find ourselves. Welcome, everyone, and thanks for joining. My name is Stephanie. I'll be the moderator for today's event. I'm actually a procurement specialist. I work for a non-profit global organization. I'm blessed with wonderful children, and I've also been in the nonprofit organization world for over 15 years in the area of leadership, procurement, management, and marketing and communication. So welcome on board, everyone. Before we go ahead, I would like to let us know that the chat box will be open. The chat box is open for questions, is open for comment. If you would like to pass any information across, you could put it on the chat box. You could send it to me privately, or you could send it to one of the hosts. His name is Benga Omotayo, so that we can make sure that we capture all your requirements, all your questions, all your contributions before the end of this program. And I'm very sure we're going to have a wonderful, wonderful time learning together and rubbing our minds together. So before we go on, I would also like to introduce the Chief Executive Officer of GCFTL to us. His name is Dr. Ade Oyeshile, who is an experienced, articulate, reliable, analytical, and an astounding individual. He has a background in finances and financial management. He's also tagged as a financial and risk management subject matter expert. He has over 15 years of Wall Street experience, and he has also demonstrated leadership and management experience, as well as an understanding of the social, economic, and political environment, not only within the United States, but across the globe. Today, I would like us to welcome Dr. Ade Oyeshile to give us an opening remark. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming to our webinar. We thank God for your life. This is our second series of webinar. GCFTL was incorporated in New York State about 2 years ago. So it has been in pipeline. Wasn't, as a sort of COVID-19, but we seized the opportunity of COVID-19 to be online in our webinar. There are many things in the pipeline that this FTL will deliver, and as we go on, we'll be communicating everything one by one to everyone. This FTL is incorporated 2 years ago in New York State as a non-profit organization, and is there to focus on transformation leadership. Why are we, what can we do through our skill, our experience? What can we do to impact the world? So that will be focus of our transformation program. We need people. We need volunteer. We need any area you think it can be of help for us, just reach out to us. We need your skill. We need your network. We need your own view, how we can be a better organization. Volunteer, we also need donation. You can reach out to us, but just feel free. Just feel free and be as part of the family of GCFTL. Thank you. You are welcome.
Thank you so much, Dr. Oyeshile. Thanks for your leadership role. Thank you for the innovation. Thank you for identifying the gap between the role of a leader and the excellent performance that is required to actually lead. And I remember in the last seminar that we had spoken about the role of a leader. And now that we are having a lot of younger ones growing up in the role of leadership, whether they are coming from the first timers in the place of leadership, or they have been subordinates and they aspire to become leaders, one thing that is very important for them is to understand that being a leader entails having the required skills, and it required 100% of the role and the requirement to actually be a leader, which is the act of servitude. And I remember we had mentioned that act of servitude, that being a leader is not just the title, it's not just having that head on you. Once again, if you're just joining us, welcome to this month's webinar titled Building High-Performing Teams During a Time Like This, in the midst of crisis. And once again, my name is Tiffany. And before we introduce the speaker for today, one thing that I have seen, and maybe we need to start putting our minds towards that, it's that in this season we find ourselves, whether we're thinking about it's COVID, whether we're thinking about mergers and acquisitions, whether we're thinking about change management or any of those things, we would notice that in building teams, one thing that is very important is collaboration. Collaboration, we also have innovation, cooperation, and all those things are part of the ingredient into having an excellent team, especially where there is social distancing everywhere. Your VP is working from another location, your associate director is working from Louisiana, and you still have to build this team for one particular reason, which is the mission of the organization. So straight away, I'm telling you, I love this topic. And to be honest with you, I could go on and take Mr. Davis's role, but I'm not gonna do that because he's a subject matter expert. And before I bring him on board, I would like to introduce to us who Mr. Oris Davis is. Oris Davis is currently the General Manager of Quality Assurance, Engineering, and Program Support at Consolidated Edison of New York, where he directs and manages both professional and technical personnel. Mr. Davis has been in the utility industry for over 30 years, continuously building on his knowledge of the energy industry while holding positions of increasing responsibility. He holds a master's degree in energy management from New York Institute of Technology and a bachelor's of science in mechanical engineering from Lafayette College, Easton, Pennsylvania. A force in his community, Oris Davis is also an education activist who was called upon to testify in the New York City Council hearings on diversity in the specialized high schools. Oris Davis also serves on many local boards, including the Brooklyn Technical High School Alumni Foundation and the New York Metropolitan Area Chapter of American Association of Blacks in Energy. He is the founder and president of the nonprofit Caribbean American Society of New York, an organization that seeks to improve the social, educational, and economic status of its members through charitable giving, cultural event, educational initiatives, and political involvement. Mr. Davis was born in Jamaica, West Indies, and came to the United States in 1970, a product of New York City public school system. He also grew up in Brooklyn, New York. Mr. Davis currently resides in Laurelton, New York with his wife and their 3 children. Ladies and gentlemen, gladly and welcoming, I would like us to welcome Mr. Oris Davis as our guest speaker. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Oris.
Right now.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I must say that this is truly an honor. It's a pleasure. I thank you, Dr. Yoselli and Dr. Oleke, and also Mr. Gabenga for providing me with this opportunity to share some of my experience with the group. In this time of crisis, I think it's so important that we leverage and take every opportunity to share our respective experiences so that we can help our community to get through this situation. As was mentioned, I am currently the president of the Caribbean American Society of New York. And I wanted to start by just giving a little bit of background on that. This organization was founded back in 2011. And the overarching mission of the Caribbean American Society, or CASONI, is to build and cultivate a stronger sense of pride within the Caribbean American community. And the reason why I felt an organization like this was so important is because in growing up in New York City, one of the things that I found is we had very strong communities across the city representing various countries from the Caribbean. But there was not one organization, an umbrella, that really helped to bring the community together so that we can leverage and take advantage of the numbers and influence that we really should have. I oftentimes will quote one statistic that I think is very telling, and that is 5 of the top 8 immigrant countries in New York City are actually Caribbean islands. And the number 1 immigrant country is a Caribbean island. So if you take a look at the numbers, I think that just speaks volumes to the kind of influence we can and should have. And so this organization was created. And there are 4 main objectives of the organization. The first objective is business related, to encourage our community support those businesses in our community, whether it is through training, job creation, job development. This is an area that we have to be successful as a community if we are going to have the financial strength and success that we need. The second area or objective is in the area of education. We promote and encourage our children to pursue careers in the area of STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, with a special focus on kindergarten through 8th grade, because we recognize that if our children don't have the foundational elements and are comfortable with the science, the math, those things that are necessary as they move on to high school and higher education, we have a tendency to lose them. And the statistics are clear. 94% of students start to think about careers in middle school. And so I think it's very important that we catch them at that point and have them understand what STEM really means. And that it's not just being an engineer. It is, whether you're talking about doctor, medicine, banking, all of these are careers that are associated with STEM. These are the careers of the future. These are the careers that are going to be well-paying jobs. And so we really want our children to have an education, but we want that education to be aligned with the careers of the future. So that is number 2. The third objective of the organization is to provide networking opportunities. And this right now, what we're doing, I believe, is just a great example of that. Coming together to share our respective experience and knowledge and whatever it is that we have that we can bring to the table. I oftentimes will say that, networking, you think about, I talk about folks sometimes from my country. In my country, there's lots of land and people that own land, but don't have the money to invest in that land. And here and in other places, we have people with the money, but trying to figure out how to invest that. And so when you network and you share your respective resources and see how you can come together, great things can happen. So that is the third. The fourth objective, and I believe this is just absolutely so critical, especially in this time. Engage and ensure the representation of our communities when policies, legislation, regulation are being discussed. We have to be at the table. It's important that we're there, and a lot of attention has been given to what's happening in society. But if the laws don't change, if the regulations don't change, if the policies don't change, we will continue to be at this, and we will not really and truly move forward. And so we have to engage and encourage.
Family pressure. If care is not
Excuse me?
Little breaking homes. Somebody.
Please, can we
Is someone
put our
asking a question?
devices on mute? No, I think somebody's computer or device was coming up. We apologize for that.
Okay,
Please, can we put
all
our
right.
phones on mute? Thank you.
Okay, so I just think that is, so those are the objectives of the organization. I've mentioned the mission, and so I wanted to just segue into the topic at hand, right? And that is about building high performance teams, and what I believe are some of the important characteristics of building such a team. I think that I mentioned the mission is to build and cultivate a stronger sense of pride. But what does pride really mean? I'd like to use that word as an acronym to discuss 5 elements that I believe are critically important in developing and building a high performance team. The first, P. P for me stands for purpose. Before you get started, you really have to understand what is the purpose of your organization? What is the purpose of the service that you're providing? What is the purpose of what you're trying to accomplish? This gives you a goal. It sets a target. It puts you in a direction. And this is critically important because if you have not defined and fully appreciate and understand your purpose, you could be going in the wrong direction. You could be moving away from the goals of which is so important to your organization and that you're trying to accomplish. And if you're going in the wrong direction, that then means you have to first get back to your starting point before you can really start making progress. So it is critically important, I believe, to establish and understand the importance of purpose. And I'll give you an example that has occurred in my career. The unfortunate incident of 9/11, when the towers came down. At that time, I was a senior system operator working for one of the local utilities. And so my responsibility was to oversee and operate the transmission and distribution system serving New York City. On that day, I saw the towers come down, and I was working the evening shift, which is 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. And one thing that I started to realize right then is I have to figure out how I am going to get into work. Because with something like this happening, the purpose of our company, the purpose of electricity, the purpose that we needed to serve and fulfill became even that much more important. And so I got up and I got in my vehicle, and with my ID card, I was shepherded all the way to our control center. And I think that, to me, is another aspect of understanding that purpose, how important it is that you're successful in doing what you're doing, because it goes beyond just you. It goes beyond, it is about the service that you're providing. And so I think purpose is absolutely important. The other thing, and Dr. Tiffany mentioned the last event, and 100%, or given 100% in terms of leadership. I would submit, and in the area of what I would say next is relationships. relationships is critically important. Very, very, very important. And I would submit that 100% isn't enough. In order to recognize the full benefit, it has to be 200%. Because in any relationship, no matter how you look at it, if you think about that example, Dr. Oyesheli, as a leader, if he does everything that he has to do and puts together a great plan for this organization or for his company and communicates it well to the team and does everything, and he is 100% in terms of what it is that he's doing. But those who are to execute on that plan, for whatever reason, not trusting in the direction, questioning, but let's say they don't follow and execute on that plan. 100% times 0 is 0. Okay? So as an engineer, I look at things in life sometimes in terms of numbers. But the flip side of that and the opposite is true. Let's just say that we have, and he has a great team that is going to follow him and execute on his plan 100%. But he hasn't taken the time to look at the facts. He hasn't taken the time to think about, the purpose and the things that we're trying to do. And a haphazard plan is put together, but that plan is followed perfectly. Again, you have 0 times 100, and the result is not the result that we want to have. So I submit that it takes 200%. Whether it's a wife and husband, a teacher and a student, it takes 200%. The plan, the leadership that's necessary, we need that to be 100%. But we also need to have the execution be 100%. And when you have that 200%, and maybe we don't get to that 200%, but everyone is giving their all and the best, we then can maximize the outcome of which we seek. And so relationships, I think, to me, is that second element that's of critical importance in the success of any organization, any relationships. I don't care if it's your, a parent, child relationship, a teacher-student relationship. If she gives all the homework, the teacher, and the student doesn't do it, again, not the right outcome. So I think I've hopefully made that point. The next thing is the I. And for me, that stands for integrity. In today's society, sometimes you wonder what has happened to integrity. Even in some of the highest offices around the world, you wonder what has happened to integrity. And I would say that this element has to be a part of an effective team. Because if you're looking for folks to follow you and trust you and believe in you, if you don't display integrity, can you truly expect that your team will exemplify integrity? If you're looking to cut corners, if you're not caring about the very people that you serve, and that is the example that you're leading with, can you truly think that your people will not follow your lead? When it comes to integrity and making decisions, that is important as anything, because you can spend years and decades building that trust and that integrity, but the minute you do something to lose it, it can be gone in a minute and very, very difficult to recover from. Think about the things that you do as something that, is this something you would want your child to pick up the New York Times or any other paper and see on the front page. Let that be your guide in terms of the decisions that you make to ensure that integrity is always a part of that. And so we move on to the D. And for me, that D is determination. No one said it's going to be easy. And most things in life worthwhile, they don't come that easy anyway. Or everyone would have it and everyone would be doing it if it was easy. And so you have to be, once you understand that purpose, the relationship, the integrity that's necessary, you have to then sprinkle determination all over it. Because that is the element that in a time of crisis, you will need to have to push forward when others will fail, when others will stop. You have to be determined. Understand the mission, understand what it is that you're trying to accomplish, and why it is so important that you're going after this. Be determined, be steadfast, work towards that purpose, that mission, that goal, so you can be successful. And so determination. So we've talked about purpose, we've talked about relationships, integrity and determination, and that brings us to the E. And for me, the E stands for excellence. We want to be excellent in all that we do. In our organization, it's important to work to being the best we can be. And the only way we can be the best we can be is if we're pulling from everyone. Everyone is contributing. You know, at the beginning, you just heard, there was a call to, we can use whatever resources it is that you have. And we want to build this organization, this collective. And so it takes everyone. But the interesting thing, and why I love excellence so much, is that as much as you can define it and understand it, excellence today will not be excellent tomorrow. Excellence is forever changing. It is moving. For I can tell you, if you look at what we're doing even today with our computers, 10 years ago, many might not have even fathomed this. And 10 years from now, what we're doing, they'll be like, really? They were having that? Excellence keeps you focused on continuous improvement. As a business, if you think you are there and you now step back, I guarantee you that your competitor will learn from what you have accomplished and will build on that. And so excellence is not a destination. Excellence is a journey. And as a company, as an organization, as a team operating in crisis, it is critically important that you understand and continue to move on that journey of excellence. And so I just wanted to use those as opening remarks in terms of what I feel are some of the important characteristics, and there are many more, and I look so forward to the dialogue so that we can share more and address some of your questions and talk about the subjects of, you know, high-performing teams in this type of environment. So thank you so much again. I really am honored, humbled to have this opportunity to share with this group.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Davis. This is awesome. This is amazing. I have questions coming in from the chat box. And you had mentioned so many factors in building teams. And one of them, or two of those numerous that you mentioned in this just brief 20 minutes of this discussion, is excellence is not a destination. It's a journey. That means Excellence is something that we thrive at and drive at and work at and drill into every day, day in, day and out. Excellence, striving for excellence is just a value that we cannot let go. And we cannot stay in one place and assuming that all is well. I remember if anybody would have said, even in January, by the end of January, that giant companies that would initially say that you cannot work from home. What are you talking about? You need to be on site. We need you on site. Your computer is on site. Your documentation on your site. You have the OneDrive that has all your documents. You can't function remotely. And now we are seeing that people are even functioning at high level remotely. And it's a game changer. It's a different scenario. Companies are taking to, for instance, I work for a global nonprofit organization, and we have locations all over the world. And when you talk to people and find out from them, how come you have not traveled for these meetings and these seminars and this symposium that we charge into different cost centers in the organization? And they're like, I take my meetings from home. I have to join a meeting in Switzerland. I'm on my bed, joining from Switzerland. So the actual sense of excellence today might not be the exceptional excellence for tomorrow. It's just key for me, and I'm going to hold that on to that. Right now, so many questions are coming on, and I'm just going to start with one of the questions that we have. And I'm very sure I'm going to throw this to Mr. Ores because it's also, I could identify with some questions that probably are culture-centric as well, because we cannot run after that as well, because culture is a great thing. It affects partially everything. And this question goes to Mr. Davis. As someone who came to this country young from the Caribbean island, and with such an enviable career and organization, what advice would you give someone who is new in the country and working to build his career and family?
Okay, so I would say that the first thing is you're not alone. And as you come into the country, find those groups, find the people, organizations like this that have been created to help you assimilate into the community that we have. Never feel like, and never be afraid to ask for help.
Right.
One of the things that I am very involved with is the issue of a lack of diversity in the specialized high schools in New York City. That has been a big issue. But one of the factors contributing to that is that we have families that are coming here, and if you don't meet someone who has gone to one of those schools or happen to hear from a teacher about this, you will never know. So information is really key. So I think when you come into the country as someone, identify those people. And it could be family members, it could be others in the community, it could be in your church that have information that they can share with you. That will absolutely be critical and helpful in achieving the success by accessing the opportunities that are present. So I would say that would be one of the factors. Now, I came here at a very young age, and part of why I established Kasoni was because, and we just talked about excellence, but never forget your past experience. Because as a child, what I saw in our community is what I wish to and would love to recreate. When I came here, or even when I graduated from high school, my suit was made by my father's friend, Mr. Millwood. We had professionals within the community that were auto mechanics, and they might have been with Honda during the week, they might have been with Mercedes, they might have been with BMW, but on the weekends, we were working together. They were helping to fix each other's car and providing a resource to each other. And when someone needed something else, and if it was just manpower, I can't tell you how handy I have become because of all the adopted uncles from all over and outside of this country that as a youth and as a young man, I was surrounded by. So be a part of the community, get involved, get engaged, and let's just really share and understand that we have a responsibility to help those who are coming in. That is how other communities are successful. And if you go back and you look at history and you look at, those who have immigrated to this country, they have come with a platform, and they may start from the basement, but they wind up at some of the highest levels because they have that foundation.
Right.
They're willing to make that sacrifice. They work real hard, and they understand the importance of the critical factors like education. That's something that's important, right? No one can take that away from you. So I believe those are some of the things that I would say for someone that's coming in. But again, I'm going to go back to that 200%. For those that are coming in, you have that 100%. But for those who are here, we have a responsibility to our brothers and sisters who are coming here to improve upon themselves, to improve the opportunities for their family. We have to be that other side of the relationship equation to maximize the outcome and the benefit.
Wow. Thank you so much, Mr. Davis. Answered properly. Thank you. Don't forget to always put 200%. It's not 100%. It's no longer 100%. 100% is not going to take us. We need 200%. I have a lot of questions coming in, and this question will be going directly to Dr. Oyeshile. And it says, how do we manage teams, especially during this crisis, in order to make sure that the sense of purpose and commitment to the mission of the organization is not affected negatively? That's a wonderful question. And I'm just going to break that down. This person is just trying to ask, Dr. Oyeshile, can you help me? How do you make sure in these times of crisis and you're trying to build your teams that the purpose and the commitment to that mission statement of my organization is not affected?
Thank you. Thank you. Also, before I answer that question, I want to thank Mr. Davis for that brilliant presentation. Wow. Wow. Purpose, relationship, integrity, determination. Excellency is open-ended. Thank you very much. Yeah, back to the question. In today's business environment, there's no more critical challenge to your business or to your organization, than your people. We need to engage in retraining and developing our people. It impacts everything in the organization. Your mission statement has been made, then there is crisis. Now, how do I build my team in crisis? Building a high-performing team in time of crisis, you require to be effective in your relationship. Mr. Davis mentioned it. You need a relational team leader who will build and promote healthy culture. Healthy culture of what? Trust, love, caring, like he said too, integrity, and service, including investment in people. That should be the culture. To a high-performing team, you need your people. you need a growth and success mindset of your people. Unlike a achievement goal oriented, you need to be people growth mindset. You want to focus on your people. If you focus on your people, trust, love, caring, your organization vision and objective will be achieved. The crisis will not affect it. So a high performing team leader is people's focus. And he or she must be committed to both developing and leading teams that are healthy and effective. As I said, when you are people grow, if you have people grow mindset, it encourages productivity. It gives people recognition. Their commitment will not be, will be undisturbed. If they know you trust them, you love them, you care for them, they will work for you. I think that's the main thing I will say for now. I don't know if I'm able to answer the question.
Thank you, Dr. Yeshile. Right, I think, okay, so what I'm gonna ask is the person that sent the question, please, if you do not feel satisfied with the answer, please get back to us and we will definitely answer you. But one thing that I've recognized, yes, go ahead, Mr. Davis.
I'd really like to add something to that, because I think that Dr. Addy really just hit the nail on the head when he focused in on the people aspect of things. And by extension, especially, and I've been through some critical situations, and what's helped me to focus on the mission at hand is the community around me and the support that I've had. And so when you talk about the people and the safety and those things, it extends beyond just that person. It is understanding the dynamics of their family.
Right.
It is understanding the dynamics of the situation that they might be in. There are many times when I have had to respond to emergencies where people are out of service, and one of those people who are out of service is me. I have been at work when the lights have been out at my home. And I have had a community. Fortunately, I have family members that are in the area that have been able to support me and support my family while I am working to take care of and leading a restoration effort. So it is of importance that before you get to any kind of crisis, you understand your people. You understand the things that they have to think about. Some may have children. And how is what's happening, even in this crisis, impacting them? It could be very important for you then to be flexible and allow them to have flexible working hours. Because, one of the things, I have 3 children, and though the middle and older one was able to navigate, online, the younger one, that became such a challenge. And so I had parents working for me who would ask to be able to do certain things during the workday. And if it's not critical that it's done at this time, and they're willing to do it in the off hours or whatever, then you want to maintain that flexibility. So your people, and I agree with Dr. Addy 100%. It's your people, it's their situation, and look at it very holistically in terms of, how you're helping them in a situation of crisis.
Thank you so much, Mr. Davis. And you just opened something just now. And I remember gonna those days and those years when we were just walking through management skills and how to become and to act and sustain ourselves as good leaders, right? Then there came emotional intelligence, EI, which became a psychological theory that explains the requirement of saying that even though you have the knowledge of the business, even though you understand the business processes and you have strategic planning put in place, if you lack emotional intelligence, you cannot work, you cannot build a team, you cannot work effectively. You could build a team, but you might not be able to sustain them. And this perfect question just came on chat and says, where is the place of emotional intelligence in building a strong and high performing teams for organizations? I am passionate about emotional intelligence because I have up to 10 direct report that come to me, especially during this COVID period. Number one, it's no longer the emotions of being a female, that you understand that most of them are mothers, they have children, they need to attend to them. It goes beyond gender. We're not even talking about the requirement of gender in this particular, and I love this question, right? And I was just telling people in a training, and I said, for emotional intelligence to be activated, you need self-awareness. You have to recognize and understand people's emotional build-up. Some people, it's easy for them to work from home because they already wanted to work from home anyway. And they were looking forward to that. And they will say that coronavirus, stay where you are, don't go. Because I'm just loving working from home. And other people are praying, coronavirus, please go. I need people around me. I need the support. I need to be around people. And also you're talking about self-regulation. These are the things, I think those are the 5 principles we have under emotional intelligence. And I'm just answering that question because I'm passionate about emotional intelligence. So you have to have the self-regulation that you can understand how people feel and you regulate so that you can be able to tweak and perfect and bond like a puzzle the requirement of the business and the requirement of the people. Then you have internal modification where you can switch and you can be able to adjust to people. Empathy. Empathy is different from sympathy. You can sympathize with me and tell me, Mr. Davis can tell me, Tiffany, oh, you logged in at 4 o'clock yesterday and you logged out at 6. Well, I sympathize with you. I understand what you're going through. But after saying that, it's not asking me, oh, Tiffany, why did you log in at 4 and logged out at 6? Is there anything I can help you with? Is there something that is going on that you need help from other team members? That is empathy. We need high level of empathy in this time of crisis. And also we need our social skills. Social skills is dying. They're saying social distancing, but that doesn't mean our social skills should die. No, they cannot die. So the role of emotional intelligence in all this is the empathy, the self-awareness, the cognitive reasoning, the ability to be able to embrace others and bring together that social skills. I just think, unless you have any other thing, Dr. Yeshile and Mr. Davis, I think that question, yeah, unless we have any supporting information, but I think the role of EI is needed. EI is what we need right now. You could have good managerial skills without EI. I don't see you building performing teams. I'm sorry to say. I know a lot of people, they complain about that. Okay, so we go to another question. Oh, Lord, I just love this. There are so many questions coming in. Oh, this beautiful comment. Somebody had just said, trust and integrity as well as information is very key to building a healthy performing team. But how do you deal with competition? Awesome. Dr. Yeshile. Trust and integrity as well as information is very key to building a healthy performing team. But how do we deal with competition that comes with that?
I think that is still not simple. You don't focus on your competitors when you are building your team. Focus on your team. If after you have done all we have been discussing, you see yourself being very innovative, you see your company growing, and you will be able to deliver value to your customer. If you are able to deliver value to your customer, you will beat your competitors. in today's environment, prioritizing and investing, in developing your people, focusing on your people integrity, you will be above your competitors. Your employee, your management team, your team will be overperforming. As a result, you will be at edge with your competitors. Because if you focus on your competitor in your business, you find yourself copying them. If you are copying people, you can't go above them. But when you focus on your mission, your goal, and all we have been discussing, you will realize you'll be ahead of your competitors. I will be able to answer that question.
Great. And also, I noticed that on this platform, as a result of the questions that are coming in, that we might also have a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners that have that ownership, or the leadership part of my business sits in me. Because I see some of those questions, especially the next one that I'm going to read out, I'm very sure probably from an entrepreneur. And because to let you know, it's not about those in the American society alone, not only in the working class. We're talking about entrepreneurs. We're talking about business owners. We're talking about anywhere you find yourself as a leader. And this is a very good one. When it comes to trust, which is a key thing in building a high performing team. And I think Mr. Davis had mentioned integrity. In building high performing team, whether before crisis, in crisis, or after crisis. I am from a country where trust is so hard and challenging based on the happenings around, which have formed a mentality. How do we build this trust? Mr. Davis, I'll push that to you. Yeah. Because I think there is a link between that ethical reasoning, ethical performance, integrity, and trust. Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. And I think it really goes back and is aligned with what I've stated in terms of integrity.
Right.
When you are a leader, when you are operating in a group, the shadow that you cast is what will define you by those who sees your actions. And understanding the perspective that they will have from the actions that you present is what will, I think, establish and build that trust. You have to, there's, it's been said, really actions speak louder than words. And so you really want your actions to demonstrate a level of trust that your people will have. As part of that, it also means, what is it that you see as a priority?
Right.
And as Dr. Addy had said, if you're focused on your competitor, if you're focused on the revenue, if you're focused on the profits, if you're focused on those aspects of the business, and those are what your team sees, and they don't see you focusing on the people, they don't see you focusing on the development of those people, they don't see you anticipating the fact that you might be in a crisis and you may not have a particular individual as a resource that's critically important to the operation. And so, did you take the time to duplicate that skill set, to give someone else the opportunity to cross-train and learn and be a resource when you no longer have that resource? A big part of business and being successful, especially in crisis, is contingency planning. Planning for and understanding what the potential contingencies are, right, so that you can seamlessly shift and adjust. I think those are some of the things that, as it relates to the trust, setting the priority and having the people be very clear on what their perspectives is. And I want to hammer in the importance of communication, communication, and communication.
Communication. Yeah.
That is so important. And I'll tell you why. I often give the example, and perception is a function or of someone's reality, or reality is a function of someone's perception, is the way I should say it. Two people can look at the very same thing and see it very differently. This morning, as it was raining here in New York, my wife might have been very happy that the garden is being watered. We don't have to do that. But someone else wanting to, this was the time I was going to get to work on the car. And so that mindset, that perception helps to define your reality. So communication is important, and that shadow that you cast in terms of your actions is what will build trust.
Right. Thank you so much, Mr. Davis. Very complete. I just love the CCC, communicate, communicate, and communicate. You can never communicate enough, and you cannot overdo communication. This next question is going to go to Dr. Oyeshile. And I have...
Let me ask something.
Okay. Go ahead, doctor.
Sometimes we say trust. And that is why sometimes we can be frustrated if you expect everybody to trust you. You will communicate. You will show the integrity, the honesty, but if you supervise maybe 10 people, right? One of them will just say, he won't trust you. like Mr. David rightly said, hey, it's raining. Some people like it, some people don't like it. Some people can even misinterpret what you say. You can find in every department. I've been in the last 40 years, I've headed many teams, and I'm still heading teams. You can see sometimes you have frustration in some people because they just misinterpret what you said. If they don't believe in you, they won't trust you. So what do we do if that is happening? You just begin to hammer in, showing yourself, reflecting yourself, that integrity is important. Because the most difficult thing to do in life is to manage people. Don't forget that. That is why we say, you learn the theory, then you put what you learn in leadership into practice. Still, some people will say, no, you're not doing right. What will you do in that respect? You can only pray. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Just keep communicating that you have integrity, you're transparent, you're trustworthy, you're ethical, you're coming from a nonprofit base. I understand the role of integrity and being honest and being transparent. This question, I'm going to push it back to, I think, Dr. Oyeshile. I'm going to put this back to Dr. Oyeshile. And it's a question about how can one keep an employee or a team of volunteers motivated in carrying out their duties? And it's a two-way question, and I think we could combine the two. How can I balance delegating work to my team without micromanaging them? Yeah, this season we do a lot of micromanaging.
Yeah, management is sometimes it's easy. Then, like I say, it's difficult. Can be very difficult to manage people. But you can only do your best. Okay, it is good to delegate. Don't forget, delegation is not an abandonment. So because you delegate it does not mean you will not follow up.
Right.
So how often do you follow up? So this is what you do when you delegate. You ask the person, get back to me with it. I've made that mistake many times in the past when I was younger. Praise the Lord. When I was younger, you delegate people, you don't give them the time frame. When they delegate something to people, give them the time frame when to get back to you. When they don't get back to you, give them a note. But some people think, some supervisors think, once you delegate it, you should not follow up. So you delegate and follow up with them to make sure it is done. So that is the way. You don't have to manage people, because if you do, you are not allowing them to grow. You want them to grow, give them a task and give them a deadline. Give them a time frame to get back to you when the end is done. Great. So that's where, sometimes some supervisors will do it well, some will not do well. You just have to keep doing it. So like I said, delegation, you must delegate. It's a good management practice, but it is not that you abandon the role. So monitor it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And I believe that in my few years of managing and leading others, I think when I delegate, it gives other people the opportunity to build up themselves and train themselves and put them in themselves in a place of leadership that they will find themselves very soon. And when I'm dealing with people, I'm thinking about my succession plan, right? In case I become a VP, I need someone to be my assistant VP that is competent, that could stand in the place of leadership as I will when I was in that position. So delegation is not bad. There is this very important question, and this one is in relevance to COVID-19. How do you, as a leader, build and motivate a workforce that is emotionally down due to the effect of COVID-19? Mr. Davis, how do you, as a leader, build and motivate a workforce that is emotionally down due to the effect of COVID-19? That's really a huge thing.
Okay, so I would have to go back to the communication again, and I've seen it effectively administered in this environment. So many people have so many things that are going on, and for some, they might be living alone. Others, they have issues with their children. But one of the things that we have done at my company, in my department, is routinely bring everyone together and give them an opportunity to some speak, because people react to stress in different ways. For some, it's just having that opportunity to share what it is that they're going through. For others, that may not be as outgoing, just to hear what others are doing, what they're going through, and how they may be effectively addressing it is important to them. And so I think the thing you can't do is lose track of your team or have your team feel as if you've lost track of them. Set up routine meetings and bring the team together to share the experiences that others are going through. This is an opportunity to solidify, the fact that you care. Expose them to opportunities that exist within your company for them to find help. Many of us have, we have a, health department. We have numbers that we share with people that they might not want to get on a call and say what they're going through, their family challenges. But there are counselors out there. There are nonprofits. There's numbers that they can call, and please get that information, bring them together, and share that information with them. I think it is critically important to to do those kinds of things. You know,
Needful things.
share the opportunity and understand that not everyone reacts to a situation like this in the same manner.
In the same manner. Thank you so much, Mr. Davis. And I'm just going to read some comments before I go to one more question. I'm looking at time, and we're in good timing. And there is one that says, Dr. Tiffany, you're very right. Sympathy is to pity someone, while empathy is to show concern and be ready to help at the same time. That is awesome. True. 100%. I believe that. There is another one. Dr. Loke, I also think this is where culture, leadership, and management are married. How then can we build a high-performing team in a culture where distrust and fraud are the norms? I think this was exactly the same other question that we'd answered about integrity. And we're just saying that some things are just, there is nothing we're going to do about them. Some things are just culture-centric based. Some things, there is no way we're going to talk about it. The culture of where we find ourselves, where our businesses have been established, where we work, even in our 9-to-5 work, there is a culture of an organization. There is a culture that's a standard in an organization that we might not be able to put our strength together to change, because that's the culture. And that is why you would hear some people talk about some other companies and say, your culture here at Tiffany & Co. is different from Davis & Co. It's because there's something called culture. Culture has a great impact, but the only thing we cannot afford to lose is our leadership skills, our managerial skills, emotional intelligence, and our strategic skills. The strategic skills will match and bring everything together like a puzzle, and will give us that insight into what to do when the situation changes. Like Mr. Davis said, excellence is always a performing thing. You have to keep at it. It's not a one-time shot, I get it all thing. There is nothing called one size fits all in the area of leadership, in the area of building teams, and we just have to blend and make sure that this works. And also, I think I have one more question. Oh, this is a comment. Not easy to manage people though. Just delegate with a time frame, then you as a leader, you watch and pray with them. Also, I think it's good to have a plan B. Well, it's always good to be strategic in everything we do. We always have to. I have, okay. Okay, one more question. And I think, Mr. Oris, I'm gonna ask you this question. I often struggle with letting a staff go due to non-performance. I do that as well. I have a problem with letting my team go. I would rebuild and build and teach and instruct and guide until I'm tired, I'm worn out. And he's saying that, how do you determine it is time to let a non-performing or difficult employee go? Question one. Under the same question, a sub question, when do I make that decision? I think this is valuable. This is great. This is a wonderful question.
Okay, so the first thing I believe in dealing with a non-performer is to identify the root causes of this lack of performance. Is it training? Is there something that so you want to go into it, I believe, being positive, and you want to understand what are the factors that is resulting in this non-performance. And once you have identified the root causes, if it's training, it could be something that's happening outside of work. Right. It could be, family. Have a conversation with the employee, be very clear on what your expectations are, and try to determine collectively what are the issues. And once you do that, you put together a corrective action plan to deal with that employee that is not performing. And what that means is you have to set some goals and timeframes in which this improvement needs to occur. And the fact that the improvement needs to be sustained. And once you've done that, and some things may take longer than others, so you have to be realistic in terms of the goals that you're setting for this employee. And if you've put this correction plan in place, you've set up and have routine meetings, because I think, again, this is when communications become, again, very important. You know, how are you doing? Are you doing the things that I need for you to be doing? And if not, why? And as a leader, sometimes you just have to make the decision to release that employee. And that timing is when you have given a fair opportunity to that employee to improve on performance, to correct the behaviors that may be present, and they have not done so. And more importantly, you have not acknowledged a real effort by that individual to really change or to really achieve. If they are putting forth an effort, I think the runway gets a little bit longer. But if you see that they're not putting forward that effort, the runway ends, and it's time for you to make a decision to move on. But I'd like to add something to that, though, because I think we're talking about high-performing teams here. And there's another piece of that I want everyone on this call to recognize and be important. Take every opportunity you have to recognize your employees for outstanding performance, for great performance. As a leader, you don't want to be the one that gets up there and says, I have accomplished all of this, without recognizing that you cannot be successful. You would not have been successful if not for the efforts of your team. Never have that perception be that you, as the leader, has accomplished things that your team has worked. Use the we instead of the I. And I think recognize those people who are doing an outstanding job, who in the face of challenges and family issues, they're still at the table. They're still working. They're still making sacrifices so you can look good, so you can be successful, so the business can be profitable, so your company can be sustainable. It's not the I, but the we that really helps to build that team. So I'm answering the question, but I don't want to answer that question because sometimes we focus so much attention on the non-performer and we forget about those who are performing. Those who can do so much more and wants that opportunity and deserves that recognition. Does that answer the question?
Yes, it does perfectly well, because I picked a lot of information from that. You know, when you have the a skill of mentorship, it becomes more difficult for you to be able to say it's time for you to let this person go. Because every time you want to let the person go, after the training, after recommendation, after pushing and pulling, then you're still thinking, my role is mentorship. I just want to see this person grow professionally and be excellent at what they do. But it goes far beyond of that. And you mentioned something that is key. Reward system is very important. A reward system. Let's learn to reward high performing, and let's learn. And to be honest with you also, there's a way we communicate to low performing as well, that either breaks them or makes them. So we just have to go back to that communication process, the communication ability to be able to communicate nicely without, at times you hurt people's feelings, but it is what it is. We just have to do what we have to do. But in this time and season, we have ourselves. I'm going back to this empathy. I'm going back to less of micromanaging. I'm going back to more communication skills improvement. I'm going back to more and learning about managerial skills. Somebody mentioned during this week and said, crisis management is a good skill right now. Managing how to know and when to know that there is crisis and I need to manage it this way. It's very, very important. At this time, we do not have any other question in our chat box. And I would just like, Mr. Davis, do you have any closing remark? Do you have any other information you want to pass across? And after that, I would hand over to Dr. Oyeshile to also give us any information that he has in rounding up the seminar today. Then I will take it from there.
So what I would say is I really thank you all for this opportunity to, you know, share some information with this awesome group. I mentioned before that I have an organization, CASONI, the Caribbean American Society of New York. And one of the questions that was asked before is about someone that's coming into the country and what's some of the advice that, you know, you would offer. I would like to just say that, and to echo Dr. Addy, we are a resource. I would love to be a resource. Our organization is a resource. And if I can be of any help, if I can support, you know, anyone on this team, I ask that you feel free to reach out to me. The other thing is collaboration is important. And I look forward to, as this group, as this organization builds, to collaborate and work collectively to better the situation for our people, especially as we go through these most challenging times. And again, just really thank you. Gabenga, I take my hat off to you, and I really appreciate all the things that you do, not just in support of this organization, but you have supported me. You have helped to make me better. You have been, you know, the technology guy who's there to help me on how to click. So, you know, we need to leverage the experience of the team. And I can't say enough about you as a person, you as a father, and you as a believer, and someone who wants to see nothing more than our community improve. You have helped to make me better, and, you know, just keep on doing what it is that you're doing. I'm so proud to be in your circle. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Davis. Thank you for joining us today. We are grateful.
Thank
Don't
you.
go yet until after the whole show.
Oh,
Please
no,
don't
I'm
go
not
yet.
going. You're not kicking me out. No.
No, I'm not. I'm not kicking you out. No, not now and not never. Because you have a wonderful organization. I went to read about your organization, and you see, when it comes to children and education, it's a very vital thing to do. I have a lot of my family members that came into this country through STEM, and I know where they are right now. And it's amazing. So I'm gonna connect with you whether you like it or not. I'm gonna support this
Please do.
organization. And on behalf of GCFTL, we're gonna support your organization because your mission statement is great. It's awesome. So we're gonna support you. And also now I'll give the platform to the CEO, Dr. Oyeshile, to give us a few words, and from there I'll take it from there.
Wow, this is wonderful. Thank you very much, Mr. Davis. This is perfect. This is excellent. So we know that we're going to have a lot of things to do together. Thank you, everyone, you know, for coming to our second webinar. The first one was themed becoming an effective leader in an uncertain period. This one now, second one, we're having building high-performing team in times of crisis. We appreciate you for being here, and I'm thinking, no doubt, you have been blessed. You have gained one or two things, and we look forward to see you again. We'll be informing you. Our plan is to do this in every month, but the management team is going to gather together and see what we'll be doing going forward. There are many things we're going to be doing in this organization, Global Center for Transformational Leadership, GCFTL. Like I said before in the opening remark, it's not a product of COVID-19 that's been registered in your state since 2 years ago. The Spirit ministered to us about since 2013. They were able to register it 2 years ago. And COVID-19 just making probably things faster for us to say, let us start with webinar. We're doing many workshop, blog, boot camp, like the mentorship, annual conference. We'll be informing you. And we are thinking that you will join us. It's a non-profit organization. We need volunteers. You can volunteer your skill, your talents. Also, we need the contribution in form of donation. So if you go online, www.gctfl.org, you can click on donate. You donate for us. I'm very happy you are here, and I pray everything, your weekend will be perfect, and God will continue to keep us safe from this COVID-19, and COVID-19 will soon go away in Jesus' name.
Amen.
We can reach us through our Facebook or Twitter, GCFTLDOTORG, or on our website, gcftl.org, and our 800 number. Thank you very much. Have a blessed weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. On behalf of GCFTL, I would like to say thank you for joining us. Before I leave, I need to acknowledge this wonderful man, Mr. Gbenga Omotayo, who is the back technical expert behind all this we are seeing today. He has a wonderful organization. I'm telling you, because I need commission, inbox me. I have all his contact information because he's a wonderful man, a producer, a publisher, a writer, a marketing expert. If you need him, don't go to him directly. You have to come through me. Okay? Thank you all for joining. And before we go, I would like to tell us that work teams are the backbone of contemporary work life, whether as an executive team, whether as a business owner, whether as a project team or a service team. Building your team is very important. Sustaining them is more important. So you cannot build them and not be able to sustain them. The two has to go together. So keep building your team, keep sustaining your teams. Like we said, we're gonna send out another survey. Once we have that, we're gonna organize another webinar, which is coming up very soon. Don't forget, go online, gctl.org and gcftl.org, and the phone number 1-800-405-8870. This is vital. Click, go on donation. We need donations, we need sponsors, we need volunteers, we need marketing experts, we need everyone to join us. This is a wonderful organization. When I support an organization, I support with my own heart. This GCTFL is a wonderful organization. Thank you all for joining. We appreciate you, and have a wonderful, wonderful completing weekend. Thank you all. Bye-bye.